Hey guys, I go by the name 8 Years Without. I'm gonna try to break down and get into my testimony about how I came across that name and how it stuck with me. It all goes back to the glory of God and my testimony. And yeah, so about 8, 9 years ago, I was in a very heavy heroin addiction, meth, coke, anything and everything. It was mine for the taking, And I was in a really lonely, dark place in my life. Nobody around, nobody to vent to or release my inner anger to, and so I started looking up to the stars. Whenever I was lonely, I would go outside and I'd look up to the stars. And I began seeing them move. So I saw them. First, they would look like they're just dingling on a string, moving, but then I seen them actually taking pathways and moving significant distances. So I started questioning if it was me who was making them move, or if it's a hallucination or anything of the sort. So I started toying with it. I started testing my powers and trying to give myself an answer to see if it was just in my head or hallucination, or if I did have these powers. And this is over the span of a couple of years. At first it started small, and then eventually I realized it was me. I was moving the stars. I tested this out in many different ways, many different avenues I took to reassure myself that I wasn't crazy. So I got stronger and stronger, and then say about 3 years came to pass where I was pretty powerful. I could do a lot of things with the stars above our head. I even proved it to a couple other people, which they just shook it off and didn't really feed into it or say negative things about it. But once I realized my strength, and I came to understanding the power that I actually did have, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was actually, I don't think there's any ties to this, but it was the day that Donald Trump was inaugurated. I remember it pretty vividly. I remember leaving and the news was on about him giving a speech or whatever, and so this day, maybe 4 years after I learned that I could do these things that I could do, I was on heroin and I just lonely, so I went outside and started toying with the stars, and yeah, I realized I started focusing on Orion's belt, and the stars were extra resistant this day. They were denying me. They were trying to prove me otherwise. That I don't know where I'm going with that, but so on the night, I want to say August 20th, or no, September 20th, whatever day Trump was inaugurated in whatever year, and so I go outside and I'm sitting there and toying with the stars, and all of a sudden I realized that all the stars fell out of the sky, or were wiped out of the sky, I should say, in hindsight, except for Orion's belt. And on that night, of my understanding, there was about six stars that were the main imprints of Orion's belt. And after all the stars were wiped out of the sky, those were the only stars that were left. and they started moving directly above me. And when they did so, they formed with 6 stars, you know, pentagon, if you would. And so I ran inside and I grabbed a pen and I started connecting the dots on these stars and just trying to see what would come if I, you know, drew all these different, connected all these different lines and dots and whatnot. And oh man, it was all satanic, every single little bit of it. And one by one, I came to the conclusion that these were the white dwarf stars that lingered in our galaxy, which are solid diamonds. They're like completely solid, massive diamonds in the sky. And I could see that with my bare eye. I could see that they were orbs. They were no longer stars. They became orbs, and I was under the assumption that they were white dwarf stars. So I got pretty scared, as you could say. I connected all the dots and drew all these lines, and it gave me all these different Greek, I don't want to say, mythology, and the Eye of Horus was there. They had the Trinity of Sixes, which I can show you guys more about that if it needs to be. But and then so one by one, these white dwarf stars started going off into the distance and disappearing until the last dwarf star was left, and it just hovered over my head. Everywhere I even tested it, I like walked around the block to see if it would follow me, and sure enough, it followed me all the way around the block. And then so I went in my room, and then I looked out the window, and sure enough, it's right there out the window, just hovering, just watching me, just witnessing me and intimidating me and doing all this stuff. And then after that, there was my father used to call it a hunter's moon, where something about the crystallization in the atmosphere causes a big ring to go around the moon, right? Like a ring of mist or cloud or whatever. And that's when the drones came in. So these drones started coming in, and they were cloud seeding drones. And what they did was they started seeding clouds. So if you could imagine the moon with a big ring around it, and then these drones flying over it and causing lines of clouds, creating clouds. And what they formed were so there was one cloud that went above it, and then one that went below it, making an eyeball, right? And then another one went above it with a swirl, making it the Eye of Horus. And little did I know it, but that would be the day that I lost the stars in the sky for 8 years. And until 3 months ago, I was blind to it. I wasn't aware. I didn't realize it until I came out of my blindness and my vision was restored by God. So I lost the stars that day, and I was in a big binge of drugs, everything I can get my hands on, I was doing. I'm sober now, clean and sober. Don't drink. I still have a vaping habit, but I'm on the way to progress. Progress, not perfection, you know? And so yeah, once I lost the stars, and I'm aware of this at the time. I'm unaware of this at the time, and so I lost all these stars, and for the next 8 years of my life, I was intimidated because I would look up and I would see nothing but drones or fake stars, and just completely false sky. It was not God. It was not God's sky. It was the sky of of evil. And so what I believe happened, and what God is currently showing me, is that I worship the stars, and it's crazy to think about it, but if you've heard that song by the Beatles, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, it's a lot more dark and devious than you can imagine. I don't know what the song is preaching about or explaining, or if it's just nothing, but that day on Donald Trump's inauguration, oh man, I thought I was God. I was playing with the stars, destroying galaxies, just completely embellishing in my own power and my own will and my own my own false hopes. And so what happened is God took the stars away from me, or hopefully correct me if I'm wrong, Lord. I think he came to me and said, if you want your powers, you want to live by your power, and you feel mighty and strong, I'm going to let you do that. But under a few circumstances. So yeah, as you can imagine, at nighttime it's already the dimmer light of the world. So without the stars, you can imagine how much darker this place would get. And oh man, was it dark. And well, a couple months ago on August 10th, I had a crazy encounter with God. Beautiful, eye-opening, inner child returning, memories coming back to me that were stolen from me, that were taken from me through my acknowledgement and through my tongue, by giving them power, by feeding into their false encouragement. And so yeah, I went through a very tough time. I was using meth a lot, and I came to this place where I was trying to do good, and I was still getting high, but I still had something in my heart for God, And well, one day I was tweaking out really hard, and I had all these parasites, or I was under the assumption I had all these parasites on my body, and I couldn't get rid of them, So I went to the hospital. It was about 11 o'clock at night. Say 10 o'clock, and I went to the hospital, and I've had a history of this, because I was a drug addict, and I did have a lot of delusions, and I did have a lot of mental issues, a lot, more than the average, or I guess I can't say that, but it was very, very in the forefront was my mental illnesses. And so I went to the hospital, and this wasn't the first time, but they basically just told me, like, yeah, it's all in your mind. Like, you're psychotic. Like, we're like, can we help you with anything else? Because we can't help you with this. And so I just left mad and angry, and I, dropped my head, and I was like, what is going on? Like, why can't I figure this out? And so right then and there, I pulled up my phone. I'm waiting for my ride at the corner of the hospital right there, and I pull out my phone and I look up parasites in the Bible. Well, come to find out that Baal and Asheroth, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Well, they're the lords of chaos, or the false lords of chaos. And right then and there, I knew that I fell from God. Right in that moment, oh man, right in that very moment, I said, "Oh Lord, I see you. I repent to you. I give it all to you, Lord. Like I can't do this. Like if these things are not real, then it must be you trying to tell me something." Like, so right then and there, I bowed my head and I said, "Lord, please help me out of this. Get me out of this. My way is not working. What I'm doing is not working." Second, I left the hospital sober, and I was up for 3 days, just dead sober. And I come home and I read a verse out of Samuel about about the Ark of the Covenant, and it mentions something about Samuel or somebody giving trespass offering to God, and then sending up 2 milk cows up the way to Beth Shemesh or whatever, and so I seen how Samuel gave the Lord this trespass offering. Well, I was under the assumption that I was sentenced to live without the stars for my trespass against the Lord, and I'm pretty positive that's what it was. So I did the same thing. I decided to offer the Lord a trespass offering, and he accepted it. And it was about a 3 hour encounter with Jesus, and oh man, he broke it down, and he enlightened me, and he showed me everything. So in Samuel, there's the story of the 5 tumors and the 5 rats, and so one by one, he would go one by one. He'd show me a rat, and then he would show me a tumor. Well, the tumors, I had 5 tumors in my head, golden tumors, and each tumor was a resentment that I held against God that led to me falling away from him. I won't go through all of them yet because I still need to find a way to break everything down to where it doesn't just come off as, anyway I don't want it to come off, okay? So, and all these resentments, in the end, none of them were due to him. None of them were of his hands. They were all of people in my family or acquaintances that I have met. And So one of the first resentments that I had was um, that I was mad at my father, and I didn't remember this, but these are memories that God gave back to me. He exchanged them for negative, something negative. Let's say that. Well, the first one was I was angry with my father, and this was the first time that I felt anger in my heart for God. When I was 4, I wanted to take ballet classes, and my father wouldn't. He wasn't about that life. He didn't want me playing with girl toys. He didn't want me acting feminine. He wanted me to be big, tough ball player. You know what I mean? And so he told me, no, you can't do ballet. And that was my first resentment. That was one of my tumors. Now, the second tumor was my mom. Her not standing up for me, and her not sticking it to my dad and saying, no, he can do that. Like, and I didn't understand any of this because I was a kid, you know? But, yeah, so I resented my mom for not standing up for me. And so I unknowingly, that was the icebreaker that made me lose my respect for women, and just made me look at them differently, because I thought they were supposed to be our security and our our voice of reason with like with our fathers, like they're supposed to be our mediators. And so it was just tough, and I resented all three of them for that: my father, my mother, and God. The third one we'll come back to, but the fourth one was not only my tumor, but a tumor of a friend of my past. And well, basically God let me crack open this tumor, and when I did, a wave crashed. Big old wave of stars just came crashing down, and it felt so free. And I'm outside in my daybed, and by this time it's 1, 2 in the morning, and I literally lifted my arms up, and I could feel the air and all the energy flowing. And he showed me that this person from my past felt regret for leaving the way that they did. And in doing so, he restored all my faith in women, and he gave me that joy and that love that I always knew I had, but I didn't know was lost in these resentments. And it was just beautiful, man, beautiful. And so the fourth, or that was the fourth. So the fifth tumor that I had in my head was once my dad passed. He passed about 3 years ago. He never got to listen to any of my music, and that just hurt me, because I wanted him to be proud of me, and I wanted him to see what I'm becoming. So God, our gracious, loving God, gave my dad a pair of headphones. And in this moment, I see my dad in the stars. And he's a giant galactic octopus, this beautiful, magnificent octopus, you know, and he played this song of mine. My grandma was there too, his mom. She was just a halo of stars. That was it. And well, that night I got to dance with my dad like a ballerina to a song that I made for him. And at the time, I didn't even make this song yet. I actually made this song after the fact regarding that encounter. And I named this song Galactic Octopus. I mean, if you want to like test my words, like go check that song out. Like, it's about my dad. And just to throw in a little side note there, my dad was a big hunter, always wore camouflage, very straightforward man, and his favorite number was 8. So this song is me cracking jokes on my dad for asking God if he could be a galactic octopus, which obviously God grants him that. Oh man, but when I say the joy that I had in my heart when I see my big old grumpy, angry, masculine dad dancing like a fucking, oh, excuse my language, dancing like a galactic octopus in the sky, there was, oh my God, it gave me so much hope and so much love. Like, I never thought I'd be able to experience that, because my father was dead. He is dead. He's gone. Like, and it was just so beautiful, man. I wish anybody and everybody out there, man, that you get to experience something like that. Well, you won't get to experience that if you don't turn to God. If you don't get your sight returned to you. If you don't see the truth, you're not going to get these treasures that God hid in the darkness. And you're not gonna experience these things, man. You're gonna be stuck. You're gonna be living in chaos. You're gonna be just unheard. Your words ain't gonna go nowhere. They're gonna hit a brick wall. That's it. But oh man, he gave me these things, and I was on a daybed outside, laying out there. I slept out there for months. I don't know why. Just this nice bed outside. And after the 5th tumor, it's like when you work with God, like, he tells you a lot of things, but then sometimes you gotta interact. You can't just expect him to do everything. It's a give-take relationship. And so I got up, and something told me to look up. God told me to look up. And I look up, and there it is. All the stars, man, they're back. Big Dipper, please, it was all there. And I just started bawling, man. I was so grateful. So grateful in that time, man. I didn't even know I lost the stars. I didn't even know until they were returned to me. This isn't easy for me to share. Like, I don't expect any of you guys to believe this, but to the ones that do, just know that God is good, and He will make you whole again. He will give you comfort and peace. Ever since that day, I accepted Him as my Savior. My life is just so prosperous, so great, so beautiful, so fulfilling, far from empty. And I owe it all to God, man. That's all I got for now, but I don't make videos, I don't do this, I just make music, but I feel like this story needs to be heard, man, because how many of you are living out there without the stars, or whatever it may be, you know what I mean? How many people are out there unaware that they're blind, unaware that they're not they're not heading to the right place, man. They're going somewhere that they ain't gonna care for, and they're gonna be stuck there. But yeah, even if it just helps one person, man, I just want to share my story. As psychotic as it may sound, I would love to get deeper in this and just break it down from beginning to end, man. Whatever needs to be done to show you guys that this ain't no joke. I ain't playing games. God ain't playing games. Only person playing games is the devil. And he ain't welcome here, you know what I mean? So I will get into it. But just be aware, man. Things aren't what they seem. This is spiritual warfare. And if I could do anything to help even just one person on the other side, I'm going to do that. So stay tuned, guys. Let's see what we get.